The Division is being developed by Ubisoft Massive, Ubisoft Reflections and Ubisoft Redfall, and published by Ubisoft. They are promising a cooperative and vast player versus player experience in a highly detailed world. Supposedly it'll be the next big Tom Clancy game. It is a third-person MMORPG that plays in the year 2025 in New York and some rural areas surrounding. It takes place 2 weeks after a widespread pandemic breakout that wiped out nearly all citizens. The few survivors live in a decaying city without water and electricity. We are there to save the remaining survivors and save the city from utter disruption. However, to do so is entirely your choice. You can completely go against this and to kill the remaining survivors and bring the city down and destroy it. The game will be running on the brand new Snowdrop engine that has been made by Massive Games. This creates new visual effects never seen before, such as dynamic material shaders. These change the level of shade on an object depending on the weather as it sounds. Since this is an MMO, you are playing in an always online environment and requires internet connection. Plus, you can play this game semi-online. This means that you need to be connected to the server, but can play on your own. The reason this game is online is because the devs want you to meet other players and interact with them by forming squads or alliances. The game is being split into areas, and some of these areas you will obviously not be able to fight other players. The areas that you can fight other players are called dog zones, however we don't know how big these areas will be. On the other hand, we also have these areas called social zones, which is where you can find hundreds of players, so you can trade with on their global auction house called the Black Market. There is also more types of zones which have not been released. As you enter things called story zones, you will not be able to see other players except those in your squad or alliance. You are able to customize your hero's hair, facial hair, clothes, sex, size, and many more things. Some of these add to character creation, like hair, facial hair, and obviously clothes. One big benefit of this game, in my eyes, is there will be no classes to bound your playstyle. You can always change your equipment mid-game. This already seems like overwhelming customization, but it doesn't stop there. You can also change the essential equipment that you carry out for different types, like the earpiece, clothes as I said before, your backpack to make it bigger or smaller, and weapons. The weapon range is massive and can add multiple accessories to them like scopes and suppressors. You add your weapons to things called slots, and you can add as many weapons to these slots as you like until these slots are filled. The bigger the weapon, the more slots it has, obviously. So at the beginning it will be a difficult choice in deciding which weapons you need most. Say your weapon of choice doesn't have many slots, and you have to force yourself to use a different one. You don't have to do this later on in the game. You can craft your slots in your inventory if you have the materials. Therefore, looting is essential. Because crafting is essential, you must keep as much loot as you can get in your hands, so that you can upgrade each one of your accessories, e.g. weapons and armor. All of your weapons and equipment will level up by killing enemies and gaining XP by completing missions. There are two different leveling trees. One of these will be skills, which add heavily used and skillful functions that are used predominantly in combat. Only two skills can be active at once. Both of them have a cooldown depending on how strong they are. This makes sure that nothing is overpowered. The other skill tree that is used is to improve things like your health bar, well, attributes like your stamina. We do not know how the point system in these skill trees will work. By expanding these trees, you're leading to difficult choices, and these abilities can be improved to make them stronger. There are other ways of improving your performance by using supplies such as food. Food is not necessarily needed to survive, but as far as we know, has strong benefits to our talents. Going back to crafting, finding full crafting materials isn't very high, but it's more common to find in pieces like The Last of Us. You can gather these pieces in your backpack and weld them into full materials and then use them to upgrade weapons and equipment. However, the amount of parts may start to fill your inventory, and we'll have to go back to make tough decisions on what you keep. One easy solution would be to sell these items on the local black market. Finally, I want to leave you with the size of the world. The world is described as being massive by Massive Games, but it has also been described as 1 to 3 of the size of today's New York, which, in our language, is 1/3 of the size of the city today. This is just the city out there. There's also rural areas to be explored, hundreds and hundreds of missions to be completed in all of these areas.